All right, guys, I'm back in the garage today, working on the blue MR2 now, just to kind of see what I can get done with what I have, and see if I can also make my own parts to be able to make this turbo work, because they don't make a flange that's T10, or 10AN, with this skinny of a bolt hole, so I'm going to try to modify this one here to basically fit on here, and it's going to be kind of interesting, but I'm going to try it. If it works, it works. If not, well, just go back to the drawing board. What I also need to do is, of course, get plugs in this thing and try to get it to fire at some point. I'm thinking after I get the turbo on it. But aside from that, I also need to figure out what I'm doing with this coolant hose situation. You guys, as of right now, need to get some sort of hose that's going to come all the way from up here, go straight down, and then back over behind the fuel filter there. Doesn't seem like too big of an issue. It's just figuring out what to use specifically. Because the engine's just been raw dogging it over here, I'm going to put the plugs back in first. Of course, when doing spark plugs, you don't really want to over tighten anything. This is very straightforward. You bottom it out by hand, and then because this one does have a crush washer on it, you turn it another half turn to maybe 2/3 of a turn. And what I mean by crush washer is this little piece right here, this little thing that kind of flops around. Some spark plugs don't even have that. And if you don't have that, you maybe go 1/8 of a turn, maybe 1/16 of a turn once it bottoms out. But these, another half turn. So I'll just kind of show you. I'll walk this, drop it down all the way in there in my spark plug socket, hand thread it all the way in, which will take a little bit here. Okay, now it is completely bottomed out by hand. Take my ratchet. Now, because of where this is at in the engine bay, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to stop over here. And that's all you need. That is a perfect half turn. Now just do that 3 more times. All right, now time to go back in with the coils. The coils seem like they were working on all 4, but of course we won't know until we get them all in. This was cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4. The plugs, of course, looked fine, of course, except for being fouled out. But I'm just going to put them back basically how I found them. So just like that, and go from there. Now, of course, the bolts for the coils are going into an aluminum valve cover. You only need 1/8 of a turn on those as well, just to kind of snug them up. Other than that, you don't need to go any tighter, otherwise you may literally crack the valve cover. You're also probably wondering why there's 2 studs on those 2 and they're offset. Well, this is the little coil cover that goes on, and it's supposed to just sit and kind of get bolted into place right on top of this. Of course, I can't do it right now because I have the harness out of the way, but basically it would get bolted in place right there. Don't know if I'm going to leave that on there or not. I kind of like it showing the coils, but I don't know, I'm kind of weird. For the time being, though, we will get the harness connected back up, though, which is pretty straightforward. Of course, you just connect it, plug in each of the connectors here with a very satisfying little click. Yeah, just like that. Look at that. Beautiful. that is all put back together. Now, one of the biggest struggles I think I'm going to see with this build is the oil filter. You can see it way over here, and I can't reach it from here because it's under the manifold, and we have an oil pressure sender that's right in the way. There is a way to do it from under the car, which I may have to do, or I may just try to reach my hand down through here to try to get it, but I do need to do an oil change on this. I believe this engine takes, I don't know, 4, maybe 4.5 quarts, but I'm just going to put all 5 quarts in just because, of course, the oil filter is going to take some, but the turbo may need a little bit as well to fill up the feed line and maybe the drain line as well. But aside from oil change stuff, I'm going to work on the turbo a bit here. So for the feed, I did find this 45-degree fitting that is, of course, 1/8 inch NPT and 4AN, which will bolt right up. But with the angle of this, it should work absolutely perfect. I realized I almost pulled a stupid and sent this together with no thread sealant. That would have may have caused a leak. We would have found out though. So let's get this back apart and put some thread sealant on this sucker. Of course, no different than when I did the other MR2, if you watched that. Just put a little bit on here just to kind of go around all of the threads close to the bottom, but doesn't have to be like right at the very bottom. But basically just kind of go around pretty much just like that. We will send this right in here. Back to the drawing board. I'm just going to remove all of these bolts because I have to remove it anyway and figure out what's all going on with this exact little piece here. And I may have to make one from scratch, so I'm just going to remove it now anyway. This is also a good time if you haven't bought a brand new turbo or anything, just to kind of do a visual inspection on each of these little fins and everything. Make sure nothing looks chipped off, broken, bent and gouged, anything like that. And also check shaft play, which there is absolutely none. This thing is ready to go. So got this tightened up, and I'm going to see if I can steal this piece from that turbo right now. Alright, after some finagling with this turbo, finally got that one out, and it looks like it is basically a match. It will be able to work on this turbo, so I am happy about that. Hours later, at least it felt like that. I can mock this back up over here just to figure out exactly where I need to have this clocked, and then basically just figure out what I'm going to do about the drain. Alright, now that I have it clocked in the right position there, I can get everything else figured out. Alright, so I was going to try to drill this out, but I don't have a vise, so I'm gonna try to come up with something. Sitting here thinking about it, I may put this oil in that MR2 and just run it off of that. But of course the oil filter's still gonna have to go on here. But I have some VR1 down here that I can use in this, which would be a lot better. So I'm thinking what I'll do is just to at least get it started, maybe grab some cheap like STP or Super Tech from Walmart to at least get it running, drain it out immediately once I figure out it's running properly, at least firing on all 4 cylinders, AFR looks good, stuff like that, and then swap in the VR1 and drive it around on that. All right, and a little bit later, I was able to kind of drill this out. I even took a countersink to it to kind of clean it up, but we're gonna see if this will actually work. I don't know, we're gonna find out. Okay, well I have it bolted up. Yeah, it's a little crooked, but the whole center is absolutely perfect on that. So that is going to work. I'm just going to slap some RTV on that and make it work. And you're probably wondering what I used for drill bits, and I was thinking these initially, but I ended up finding this old drill bit from when I was machining. This is a carbide bit, and it just ate through that aluminum like crazy. So I used that, and I don't know where I put it. I have a carbide countersink as well that I also had from machining that I used, and it worked perfectly. Now this is the stuff I'm going to be using. This is some Permatex Ultra Copper gasket maker for an exhaust basically, but it's because this center section does get extremely hot. Of course, with exhaust gases going through it, I figured this is probably the best stuff to use. Now I think we're good to just bolt this sucker on and hook up oil feed and oil drain. I'm really happy with that. All right, I actually just thought of something. So the clearance on here for the bolts to the fitting, pretty close. On this side, it would probably clear. Over here on this side, this actually hits. So I'm gonna have to switch to a flatter style head, probably like a hex head bolt, Allen key, whatever you want to call it, but that's what I'm going to have to do because this is definitely loose and is not going to seal. All right, I ran by my local Ace Hardware, and I got some Allen head bolts that are kind of a lot more flush, and there is quite a bit more clearance in there when this is fully tight on both sides, so I should be able to mount this up, and I'm probably going to have to figure out some extra nuts for these studs, but I'm just going to mount this turbo back up, get the hose put on, turbo oil feed, and I think I should be at a point where I can at least start it. Can't get it to run for too long just because no coolant, but at least make sure it fires, runs properly. All right, got the turbo hooked up here. If we look at everything, I got the turbo oil feed connected here. Oil drain is connected down here. I basically am ready to be able to start this. Just to see if it runs and fires and whatnot. Of course, I don't want to run it for too long, no coolant. and the power wire to the battery is just right on the frickin' exhaust right there, so could melt. Definitely could melt. Okay, I kind of took a quick second to just pull this power wire through so it's not directly on the exhaust here if I go to attempt to start this, but the ground wire is still running really close, but that's okay because it'll just, well, ground more. But this should be close enough and good for a first start, but still need to get oil for this. Then I need to figure out what I'm going to do about the technically the clamp that holds on the wastegate dump here, because it's just missing. Have to figure that out. Okay, I hate to say it, but I'm really not going to be able to start it in this video. I was going to check the oil. I put like half a quart in because there was a little bit on the dipstick, cleaned off the dipstick, and then put the dipstick back in. There's bone dry. So I don't know if there's actually any oil in this, and I'm not going to risk it. I also just need to go get other oil because that oil I'm putting in that MR2. There's also a couple other things, like I should probably, try to actually get coolant in here. Probably get a wideband in there and make sure, because like for example, there are no nuts holding the motor mounts in right now on this side or that side, and then I don't know if a motor mount is hooked up back here or over there, but I need to check those as well. Not that that would prevent me from starting. It's fine. It's fine. But I at least need to get oil in this one way or another. I will save starting for the next video. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, I hope you guys did like this video. I did get quite a bit done on this, and 100% I will be attempting to start this in the next video, assuming I don't have any electrical fires, nothing weird going on, and everything is going well. But please like, subscribe, share, and remember, don't quit on a body that won't quit.